People could do what they wanted. Yes, it was a little bit unfair to the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims, but he got what he was hoping to get, which is the peace, and people could enter in any alliance and allegiance that they wanted to. And the Prophet ﷺ spread his wings. He started to send correspondence to kings. He actually began doing the da'wah that he had hoped to do for a very long time. He was sending people out to speak to tribes. Tribes were accepting Islam in bundles, like full tribes. Like you're talking about like 1,000. Before it was Islam, one person at a time, 2 people, 4 people, something like that. Now it was a tribe, a full tribe. Everyone would say La ilaha illallah. It was a big deal. Amongst the people that he sent the correspondences to, he sent to the king of Busra. He was called Malik al-Ghassasina, the king of al-Ghassasina. Al-Ghassasina is the name that they were called because one of their ancestors was a guy called Ghassan. Unfortunately, this gentleman killed the messenger, which is a huge betrayal, and it goes against every law of the land that existed, and you don't do that. Regardless of when you lived or where you lived, that was a known, unwritten, it was a verbal contract. Everyone knew. Unspoken rule, you don't kill the messenger. If someone's bringing you a piece of information, you don't do it. And that, the king of Sparta shouldn't have done it either, but he did it anyway, so whatever. But the Prophet ﷺ, when that happened, he had very low tolerance for betrayal and for treason. And he wanted to make sure that he honored the person that he sent. He wanted people to know that he cared for them, and he protected them, and he had their backs. As a citizen, that makes a big difference. So he moved an army for Harith ibn Umayr al-Azdi. And this is the only time you'll hear this name. You'll probably forget it. And I always find that to be interesting, that people forget this guy's name. They don't know his name, because there's not much else he did besides that as far as we have. But it doesn't mean that he's just not as valuable as any other Muslim. You don't have to be a big name. You don't have to have a lot of status or from a family. No. In the eyes of the Prophet ﷺ, you're a part of his country. You're equally valuable to everyone there. And if you are mistreated, then he will move an army for you, alayhi salatu wasalam. That was the message that the people of Medina took from this. That lifted the morale. People felt valuable. They felt that they belonged. And that's why Islam spread so quickly and so vastly in every direction after he died, alayhi salatu wasalam. Because people felt that they felt ownership over what Islam was, because the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam made sure they did. And he wanted to teach the Sahaba to start taking responsibility for the deen on their own. So he didn't go to this battle. 3,000 people were gathered. He assigned alayhi salatu wasalam the leaders. Zayd, if Zayd is not there, then Ja'far, if Ja'far is not there, then Abdullah ibn Rawaha. And they would go out, they would find that the king of al-Ghassasina put together an army of maybe 70 to 80,000 and got scared. He asked the Romans for help, and they put together something within the ballpark of 150 to 250. Like the number was ridiculous in comparison to what the Muslims had. They saw the number, they went and they did something called Shura. And Zayd demonstrated that he did learn from the Prophet ﷺ what to do in these situations. So he turned to the people who were with him and he said, Ashiru alayya ayyuhan nas, what do we do? And he took people's votes. And they came down to 3 basic ideas. Either we go back and say, well, we can't really avenge our brother with this difference of numbers, or we wait for the Prophet, we send to the Prophet ﷺ asking for help, knowing they knew that there was no one else to send, like maybe another 1,000, maybe tops he could send ﷺ. Or we just keep on going. And then Abdullah ibn Rawaha, who had felt guilty for being late initially, came in and gave a very important speech, and he told them, Wallahi ma arakum tahrubuna illa min dhalika alladhi ataytum min ajlihi. It seems like you're running away from the thing that you came for. You came for martyrism, you came for shahada. Why are you running away from it? And he tawakkalu ala Allah, performed tawakkul and moved. So he basically he moved the crowds, and the crowds said, okay, we go. And then there's consensus that they were going to go and continue, but they couldn't fight in open land. They can't just go in the open and fight 250,000 people with 3,000. Ridiculous. So they found the city of Mutah, or the town of Mutah. The town of Mutah, I think I have a picture of the masjid that exists in it. This is the masjid that exists in it. Small place in Jordan. It's not very big. You can still go see that masjid where the Prophet where the Muslims had their battle with the Ghassasina. It's actually a very moving. I wasn't able to visit it, but my teacher did, and it's a very moving area. He thought it was one of the most interesting things he ever did. The battle would begin, and for the first 6 days, it went marvelously for the Muslims. They lost very, very few people. And day number 7, the Romans changed their tactics. They said, really, the strength of the Muslims comes from the person carrying the flag. That's their leader. If we can just take that person down, we will shake them to their core. So the focus was just go after the person with the flag. Forget everything else. Just put all your effort to take down the person carrying the banner, which was the leader. For the Muslims, was always the leader. So Zayd was basically showered. يقولون فنظرنا إلى جسد زيد فكان كالمنخل من السهام. It was like he was the thing that they used to get rid of the pieces of rock within wheat. So they I don't know what do they call it? It has a name. I don't know. A screen. So like a screen. So that his body was just filled with holes from how many arrows hit him. Radiallahu anhu. The Prophet ﷺ at that moment was on the minbar. He was literally live. It was live feed. He was in real time telling people what was happening. The Prophet said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had my vision to see where they were. And he was watching them, he was telling them what was happening. He didn't know what was going to happen. He was watching it with his own eyes, telling people, transmitting to them what was going on. And this is the hadith that we have in Bukhari and Muslim, where the Prophet is telling them, أخذ الراية أو يحمل الراية زيد بن حارثة. Zayd is carrying the raya. يعني فثبت يعني فطاشت به السهام فوقع مقبلا غير مدبر. He's standing there, but enough arrows hit him that he fell with his face forward and didn't turn his back, radiallahu anhu. And he starts to sob, alayhi salatu wasalam, as he tells them the death of one of the people he loved the most probably on this earth. When you think about his life, alayhi salatu wasalam, I don't think we fully appreciate what loss he went through. Like, it's important to think about that as you age. Maybe when you're younger, it's hard to understand it. But as you age, think about that a little bit. The Prophet ﷺ was born, his father wasn't around. He lost his mother at the age of 6. He lost his grandfather. He lost his grandmother. He lost his uncle. And then he lost his wife, and he lost all of his daughters throughout his life, ﷺ. He lost 2 male children when they were younger. And then he watched at least 2 or 3 of his grandchildren pass away. And they lost his infant child, Ibrahim, later on. And then 3 of his aunts and 4 of his uncles, alayhi salatu wasalam, and Zayd ibn Haritha. Altogether, it's over 18 direct relatives to him, alayhi salatu wasalam, died during his life. I mean, one of those would be a tragedy. Like for any life, for any life story for any of us, one of those tragedies would be enough to make your life very difficult, to make it a scar that you'd never forget about, or you couldn't go through a day without thinking about it, causing you to feel very sad. But how the Prophet ﷺ continued to go through life with a smile on his face every day. He kept on chugging along, kept on moving forward, never stopped, was never broken by that, ﷺ. Just says something about his character. We don't see that. Like when you hear some of his ahadith, the things he did and he said, how he behaved, you forget the fact that he at the moment he's saying this, he probably just maybe a couple of months before suffered a horrific personal loss. A horrific personal loss, and he keep on going, alayhi salatu. People who are very strong tend to make you forget how hard it is to be what they are. People are extremely strong, make it seem easy. So we take it for granted. We don't even think about it. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam is an example that really requires a lot of contemplation and reflection. I don't know how he did that. I don't know how he could lose so many people that were so close to him. And it's not like he was someone who had a rock hard heart. The Prophet ﷺ was very in touch with his emotions. He loved the people around him. He loved them dearly, ﷺ. And he sobbed for all of them. And he mourned all of them, alayhi salatu wasalam. But he just had within him a trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, an acceptance for this life, an expectation, a realistic expectation of what it meant to be alive, that allowed him every day to keep on being optimistic, keep on moving forward, trying his best, enjoying the company of those who are around him for the time that they were there, alayhi salatu wasalam. So he loses Zayd, radiallahu anhu. Tears are running down his face. Ja'far picks up the banner. They go after Ja'far. They chop off both of his arms, and he holds it with whatever is left of his torso and arms, and keeping the banner standing for as long as he can. رضي الله عنه حتى سقط يقولون فما وجدنا في ظهره ضربة رمح. We looked at his back, رضي الله عنه, Ja'far. After this, we saw not one scratch. His back was clean. Everything that happened to him with his face and his chest forward to the enemy. The Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام on the minbar. أخذ الراية جعفر بن أبي طالب فثبت فقتلوه فقطعوا يده اليمنى فأخذها باليسرى فقطعوا اليسرى فأخذها بعضديه فقتلوه أراه الآن في الجنة بجناحين من ياقوت. They chopped off his right arm, took it with his left, he took off his left, he took it with his torso, they killed him, and I see him now in Jannah, and he has 2 wings of rubies and jewels that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has substituted it for him. And of course Ja'far had just come back. Ja'far had only been there for maybe a month. After 15 years of being in Habasha, away from the Prophet ﷺ, waiting for all the action, he missed out on so much, he would die a month later. Radiallahu anhu. The true example of altruism, Sayyidina Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. The Sahaba used to use him and Mus'ab ibn Umayr as examples of people who gave everything and didn't walk away from this life with almost anything at all. قال ثم أخذ الراية عبد الله بن رواحة. And then Abdullah ibn Rawaha picked up the banner. فتلكأ هنيها. And then he hesitated for a second. For a second there, it was just a little bit scary. Scary. It's all fun and games when we're talking. Life is on the line. It's a different story. Inshallah, you never have to see that. Say Ameen. You never hope for a moment where you have to, see your life on ever. It's never what we ask for as Muslims. But we should be ready to offer it if needed, but we should never hope for it. So Abdullah, for that moment, he just hesitated for a second. And then he picked it up and he did it. قال فثبت فوقف فقتلوه أراه الآن في الجنة. And the Ansar do takbir because they're happy that one of them also stood their ground. But the Prophet ﷺ would say later on, ألا إني أرى زايدا وجعفر في جنات النعيم على أسرة من ذهب ومعهم عبد الله بن رواحة غير أن بسريره زرارا عنهم. I see all three of them in Jannah, Ja'far and Zayd right beside each other on their two thrones, on their beds, on whatever they're sitting on. And Abdullah ibn Rawaha is on his as well, but he's a little bit lower. فقالوا ولما يا رسول الله فقال تلكأ هنيها. He's a little bit lower. He hesitated for a second. They didn't. And he did. And that leaves us with this very, very almost depressing question. How many moments have you hesitated? How many moments have I wasted knowing what I should have done, but I didn't? How many times? When you think about how much ground have I lost? How much time have I wasted? How far behind am I going to be on the Day of Judgment? Take your time to think about these things so that you prepare yourself. Prepare yourself so that when you're put in this position where you need to take initiative, where you need to do what is right, where you need to speak the truth and you need to defend what is correct, and you need to actually make decisions in your life that are righteous, that you are ready for and that you don't hesitate. You do what you need to do immediately, as Ja'far and Zayd radiallahu anhum ajma'een. Now it's chaos because three of the three leaders that the Prophet ﷺ assigned have fallen. They don't have a fourth. He didn't give a fourth ﷺ. So they're looking around. What do? They take the banner, they give it, the banner has to stay up. It's not appropriate for it to be on the ground for more than a second. They pick it up, they look. Thabit ibn al-Aqram radiallahu anhu was the eldest of the Sahaba, and he was one of the people who stood in Badr. So he had a criteria, and he was a known warrior. So he had the criteria to carry the banner. So they give it to Thabit ibn al-Aqram radiallahu anhu, this is yours. Thabit does not hesitate, he's looking around as he's taking it to see where the guy is. They know who they're looking for, they all know who they have with them. They have with them the genius of all geniuses. They have the person that you want on your team. It's really beautiful to be that person, right? In this world, it's awesome to be that person. The person that once you're on the team, people are happy. Yes, we have Fulan on the team. As a child, it sometimes hurts when you're not that person, especially when it's a sport. You're just not good at that sport. But forget about that. Forget about sports for a moment, because sports, sometimes it comes with how tall you are, how maybe thick you are, how talented you are. Sometimes you can't really choose these things, and if you don't have them, you're not always the first person to be chosen. I remember as a kid, I was never really chosen first. It was always kind of later on in the choice process, because I was small and I wasn't very tough, and you could basically kick me off the ball pretty quickly. But forget about sports for a moment. There are more teams in life that matter. In life, you'll come around, you'll go through life, and being on teams will happen outside of sports. And being the person on the team that people enjoy is not about just the physical traits that you have. It's really about the skill set that you've built, the amount of dedication, how humble you are, how much of a team player you are, how committed you are to the cause, and how much you're really willing to work with people around you to make things actually happen. That's how people will judge whether you're someone they want on their team or not as time kind of progresses for you. Khalid ibn al-Walid was one of those people who had built a very specific skill set. He spent a lot of time learning how to do something really well. And he was smart, and he had a lot of practice, so they loved having him on the team. Thabit finds looking for him. Ya Aba Sulaiman, khudh, take the banner. You're the leader. فَقَالَ مَا يَنْبَغِي لِي. It is not appropriate for me to do this. وَأَنْتَ مِنْ أَهْلِ بَدْرٍ. And you're one of the people who fought with the Prophet ﷺ on the day of Badr. وَكُنْتُ عَدُوَّكُمْ يَوْمَهَا. And I was on the other side that day. وَكُنْتَ مَعَهُ يَوْمَ أُحُدٍ. And you were there on the day of Uhud. وَكُنْتُ ضِدَّكُمْ يَوْمَهَا. And I was against you that day. وَكُنْتَ مَعَهُ يَوْمَ الْخَنْدَقِ. And you were on the day trench we were with him. وَكُنْتُ عَدُوَّكُمْ يَوْمَهَا. And I was against you that day. It's not appropriate for me to take it. فَقَالَ يَا أَبَا سُلَيْمَانَ لَيْسَ غَيْرُكَ يَأْخُذُهَا. No one else besides you is going to take it today. فَكَبَّرَ الصَّحَابَةِ. And the Sahaba all around agreed with him. Give it to Khalid bin Walid. See, the Prophet ﷺ didn't assign him. He didn't assign him. When you think about it, it's kind of weird. Like Khalid accepted Islam. He is one of the most talented commanders, strategists that are alive, that ever lived, honestly. If you study his life, I'll tell you a little bit about him. Khalid bin Walid did so much with such a small army that myths began to spread about him, rumors. Like people started to believe myths about him. That's how impressive he was. To the point where when they went for Yarmouk, Umar ibn al-Khattab had to degrade him, had to say, you can't be the commander. Because people are taking it out of hand. It's getting out of hand. People are saying things about you, it's getting out of hand. You have to be removed. You're going to turn into something that's not even safe for you. So he demoted him and put Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah. But Khalid was someone who had learned within the short time he spent with the Prophet ﷺ, had learned such sincerity that didn't bother him. That he continued to carry the wood and do the work. And they told him, Ya Aba Sulaiman, takunu wallahi ma qa'idul jayshi illa ant. No one should be the commander of this army but you. يعني كيف يصنع ذلك عمر؟ والله ما ينبغي لك أن تقاتل. How does Umar do this? You shouldn't be fighting. قال ما قتلت لعمر لأترك القتال لعمر. I never fought for Umar to stop fighting for Umar. Like it doesn't matter to me what he does. But the reason is that there was a myth, and this is what happened on the day of Yarmouk. What happened was a man comes out of the Roman army, and he says, "Where is amongst you Khalid ibn Walid? Is he there?" قالوا نعم, he's amongst us. He's one of the army. So he says, he's not the commander. And they say no. So he says, so you actually have someone even better than him that's commanding this? Like he's not the best person that you've got? So this guy's like, oh great. Yeah, we had a problem with him being there. Now he's not the best person to command. Can you call him out, please? Because we have a question. So Khalid bin Walid comes out. So the man says, أصحيح أنك إذا أخرجت سيفك وفعلت به هكذا يقتل الله الجيش الذي أمامك? Is it true that you take out your sword and you point it like this and a bolt of lightning kills the army in front of you? فقال لا. No, that's not true. فقال كذبت بل هو هكذا. You're a liar. That's how it is. فقال أعطني سيفك. Give me your sword. فقال خالد لا. No, I don't give you my sword. This is the sword the Prophet ﷺ blessed with. فقال you see? You don't want to give me your sword because it's true. قال فضحك خالد فأعطاه سيفه. قال فوقف الرومي يفعل هكذا وهكذا. And the Roman took the Prophet, the Khalid's sword and started going like this, and nothing was happening. Myths were built about this gentleman. This is how amazing he was when it came to this. He was so good at it. The Sahaba appreciated qualification, someone being qualified to do something. Oh my God. They didn't care that he wasn't the most senior. Are you hearing me? They didn't care that he wasn't the most senior person there. He was the most qualified. They cared that they looked for the person who had the most qualifications, the person who was right for the job, to do the job. That's how we're supposed to function. It's not about who was here first. It's not about who's older. It's not about what family you come from. It's about, are you the most qualified person to do this? And if you are, then tfaddal, go ahead and do it, because what matters is that the actual goal is achieved. Not that fulan is in front or fulan is running it. It doesn't matter, ya akhi. It doesn't. Who's the best person to do it? So that this team works. Bring that person and move them forward. But when egos are too big, it's impossible. When the egos are too big, they blind you. An ego can become so big you can't see anymore because it's in front of your eyes. You can't see, and all that matters is not the right person to do it. It's about control, or it's about seniority, or whatever other garbage problem that we have to deal with in our community. And the right person, the qualified person, is not being put in the right position to do the job. I'll tell you a moment where egos don't exist anymore. War. In war, when you're standing there and you're scared for your life, your ego doesn't exist. Thabit ibn al-Aqram, and of course the Sahaba were of another level anyways, but at the moment of war, there's no ego. Thabit is like, no, I can't save you. If I take this, we're most likely going to die, all of us. But I think there's one person who can probably save us all. Take the banner. But I just accepted Islam yesterday. I don't care if you just accepted Islam now. Take the banner, because no one can save us but you right now. It's the concept of making sure the qualified person is in the right position. As you go through life, especially if you're younger and you're listening to me, maybe the older generation, this is too late for them to accept this at this point. But if you're young, always think about that. Don't think about your personal glory. Don't think about your position. Don't get caught up about in your name and where you are. Think about what's best for the team. The team as in the team of Muslims, the Muslim Ummah. Think about the Ummah. What's the best for the Ummah? Who will benefit the Ummah more? Think about that and then put people in the right positions to do it. And if that means you need to take a step back, take a step back, ya akhi. No one likes a team player who's not a team player. No one likes a player who's not a team player. No one likes them. No one likes someone who is selfish on the pitch. Someone who only cares about them scoring or them becoming. No one likes people like that. They're not fun to play with. And in the long run, they don't succeed. They fail. It's people who are willing to sacrifice so the team works. It's people who have those qualities. Make sure you're like that. It's because the Muslims were like that. Khalid bin Walid was immediately given that status. And it's interesting. The Prophet ﷺ didn't choose him to be a commander. Why? Because if he chose him, it's like he forced him upon the Muslims. He wanted the Muslims to make that choice on their own. And they did. So that Khalid would earn his position amongst them based on his merit, not based on assignment. It's different. It's much more meaningful to be given a position based on merit, based on qualification, based on hard work, not based on, well, someone came and said you have to be here. So Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, he takes the banner. So he tells them, okay, we can't win this, retreat. Retreat back into the city. So they retreat back into the city, things calm down. They hold the position until nightfall. When the fighting stops, nightfall comes, he gathers them. All right, this is what we're going to do. Listen to this. This is amazing. He tells them, I think we've done what we set out to do. Wallahu a'lam, we've already avenged al-Harith. We've killed from them maybe 1,000-fold more than they've taken from us. We've lost maybe up to 25 people. They've lost in the thousands. Thousands of them have died. So I think we've already kind of proved our point. We actually brought out 250,000 of them to fight 3,000. We have cornered them. We beat them for 6 days straight. I don't think we have anything more to prove here. There's no way for us to fully win this. So I think we should strategically, tactically do a retreat. I think that's what we should do. The Sahaba had agreed at that point. They said, yes, how do we do it though? So he told them, we can't run away. We can't just turn around and start running down to Medina. They will catch us in the middle of the desert and kill us. It's not going to, they're quicker than us. They have more horses, they have more camels. We don't have as many. Actually, it was not only were the numbers lower, but the Muslims had less cavalry. Like they didn't have as many horsemen. But they did have around 300 horsemen, the Muslims, out of 3,000, which is 10%, which is ridiculously low. Like ridiculously low. You're talking, it should be at least 40% in order for this to work. Like for any fight to be fruitful. So the number was low. So the Khalid, this is what he came up with. He told them this is what we're going to do. What we're going to do is all 300 of you are going to go as far as the horizon is until you cannot necessarily see people anymore. And you're going to start from basically just before Fajr, having your horses just run around in circles and cause the biggest dust storm that you can possibly cause. I want to see dust hitting the sky. And then he told the Maymana, which is the right part of the army, and the Maysara, and then there's the left part of the army, and then there's the Muqaddima, the middle part of the army. We're going to do a switcheroo. You're all going to switch from one place to the other, because for 7 days, the same people, same place. So the Romans are used to the people they're fighting with, like the same faces. We're going to switch. Now, we're going to switch, and everyone's going to go tonight, right now, take a shower, and clean your clothes. I want your clothes to be spotless. Clean the banners, clean everything, make it look like it's brand new. Just switch everything around so that in the morning when we start to fight again, they see you and they see that your face is different people. What he's trying to do, radiallahu anhu, he's trying to elude the army in front of him that there's madad, meaning more people are coming, more armies are being sent. And he told them what you're going to do is you're going to call out in the middle of the fight, Allahu Akbar, Ja al-Madad. Every 10 minutes, someone's going to scream, glory be to Allah, help is coming. Right? Just keep on, do that for the first couple of hours in the morning. Now, they switch everything around in the morning, So the Romans are seeing different faces. They look like the clothes look new. The banners have like fresh paint. Looks like it's not the same people they were fighting yesterday. So they're going back to their commanders like, these aren't the same guys. And they keep on saying this madad thing. they keep on talking about like support and aid coming. So they look into the horizon and they see dust to the sky. And the 300, they were told by Khalid, I want you to come into 6 groups of 50. You come swifting in, just charging into the battle. And when you do, everyone will do takbir, Allahu Akbar, Ja'al Madad. And when you're there, and you go and you fight. 6 times. Khalid ibn Walid had them do this 6 times. So the first time, the 50 cavalry, they come in, and everyone's doing takbir, everyone's happy that there's no one. This is the same army that's been there the whole time. It's all just, all of this is just a show. There's nothing. This is the same people. And everyone's takbir, all happy. And of course, these people are on horseback, are coming in, and they're fighting. So the first time, the Romans like, oh my God, this is real. Then the second time, then the third time, then the fourth, then after the 6th time, the Arabs like, this is not going to work. We couldn't beat 3,000. There's more people coming. Look at the smoke. Look at the dust in the background. And then Khalid said, and once that's done, we all retreat at once. And they all just whooshed, retreated. Now the Romans are like, what do we do? We charge after them. Like, no, this is definitely an ambush. They already had like 6 groups of people come in, and it looks, everything is different. This is an ambush. Wait. As they are talking and waiting, Khalid is like back to Medina already. Khalid and the Muslims have already, they're just charging back to Medina, running as fast as they possibly could. While the Romans are like, no, this is an ambush. He thinks he's smart. We're not going to fall for this. We wait for a little bit. So they're waiting and talking and sending an eye. And by the time they figure out that the whole city is empty and there's nothing left, Khalid is already in Medina. Radiallahu anhu wardah. And that's how we ended the Battle of Mutah. They didn't follow them because they were already extremely embarrassed. The amount of embarrassment that this army had, they didn't even follow. The Romans like, you know what, this is the last time we ever help you. And they go back, and the Ghasasina go back to their kingdom. That was the end of it. And they didn't dare follow the Muslims. Because like, if we couldn't fight them here, I'm pretty sure we can't fight them back in their city. It's not going to work, so leave them alone. Funny enough, by the time Khalid and Walid and the Muslims make it back to Medina, they're happy that we made it. The people of Medina, the women of Medina, come out to greet them, calling them, Ya Furrar, Ya Furrar. The ones who ran away, shame on you. The ones who ran away. You ran away? Afarartum fi sabilillah? That's what they asked them, huh? You're supposed to like perform jihad fi sabilillah. So they're mocking them. Afarartum fi sabilillah? You ran away for the sake of Allah? That's what you did? You run away? So the Prophet ﷺ is seeing them, the people say that. This is how they valued this is what this community valued. This community valued people who stood their ground. The community, even the wives and the mothers, who all they care about is the safety of their loved ones, but they're not willing to do that if it's at the expense of doing the right thing. Not at the expense of standing your ground. Not at the expense of doing what was right and defending what you know is correct in this world and standing by righteousness. No, I want you to come back safe, but not if you're running away. Don't run away from battle. So they came out shaming them. أَفَرَرْتُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ فُرَّارٌ. That's what you are. You're deserters. You deserted fi sabilillah. That's what you did. You're proud of yourselves. So the Sahaba who were very happy they made it were silenced. So the Prophet ﷺ said, La laysu bi furra. No, they didn't desert. Bal humul kurraru insha'Allah. They're the ones who fought and pushed forward more than anyone else would. وقال يا خالد إنما أنت سيف من سيوف الله. You are one of the swords of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here on earth. And that was the time he was given that name. رضي الله عنه وارضاه. And of course that name stuck with him. Just so you know, Khalid ibn Walid رضي الله عنه, when he died, he didn't die in battle. He died at home. He got ill and he couldn't move anymore. And he was passing away at home. And he was on his deathbed and he was sobbing. يقول أموت على فراشي كالبعير. I'm dying on my bed like an animal, like a camel. ما هذا? What is this disgrace? I should be dying on a battlefield in protection of Allah, in protection of my Muslim brothers. And he passed away, radiallahu anhu, making dua that Allah would forgive him for that. I think what he didn't see was the fact that had to happen that way. You see, Khalid was one of the swords of Allah. Now tell me, who can kill the sword of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Huh? Can anyone kill the sword of Allah? In the middle of a battle, you think, of course he's not going to die in battle. Because if you kill Khalid ibn Walid in a battle, then you've killed one of the swords of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he's not going to die in battle. He's going to die. He just didn't see it at the time. He didn't think of it. But that's the level of commitment he had, radiallahu anhu, for the cause that he lived for. He accepted late. Sometimes when you come in late, you have to kind of go the extra mile. Sometimes you come in late, so you have to push yourself really hard. You see that. Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib did that. Umar ibn Khattab did that. Khalid ibn Walid did that. Amr ibn al-As did that. They came in a little bit late. They figured out, yeah, we missed the show. We missed the party. We should have probably accepted this a couple of years before. I don't know why we did this. So they go the extra mile. They push themselves farther. They push themselves harder. It's okay to come in late. It's okay to say, you know what, I should have figured out what was right and wrong before. But I figured it out now. It's late. I should have done it a few years ago. That's okay. It doesn't matter how late you figured it out. The moment you figure it out, just push yourself as hard as you can. You'll make up for it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it up for you. Like He will accept it. That's why these names, even though they accepted late, we still celebrate them every day. Because it's not always about how quickly, how early you were there, even though being a pioneer is great, but it's how hard you pushed during the time that you were there. You came late, but you went as hard as you can. That's all that matters. And that's what Khalid ibn Walid did in his life. That's what these people did. They felt that they had to make up for the fact that they were late, so they did. They made up for it. That's why their names live with us till this day. That's why we still tell their stories, and we still make dua for them and hope to be like them. And we wait for the next Khalid ibn Walid, the next Amr ibn al-As, and the next Umar ibn Khattab to come amongst the ummah to save it, just like Khalid radiallahu anhu saved them that day. Radiallahu anhu. Wa ardah. I want to go back just to this hadith here that I put. I put this here so it will remind me of what I wanted to talk about before we move on. Remember I told you, I was saying, it's really nice to be a person on the team that people enjoy. That only happens if you build yourself, if you have strength, right? If you become someone who has a lot of skills, a lot of expertise, someone who has invested in themselves enough, that's how you become that. That's what the Prophet ﷺ was saying, الْمُؤْمِنُ الْقَوِيِّ خَيْرٌ وَأَحَبُّ إِلَى اللَّهِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِ الضَّعِيفِ وَفِي كُلٍّ خَيْرٌ. The mu'min who has strength is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is more benefit from them than a mu'min who is weak. And this is not talking about muscle, even though muscle can be a part of this. I'm not saying it's not. But strength comes in many forms. There's intellectual strength, and mental strength, and academic strength, and social strength, and financial strength. Be strong. Be strong. Be strong. Build yourself. That means you have to work hard, because strength doesn't come on its own. It's not a gift. It's not given to you. You have to go and you have to take it. You have to work hard so that you have strength. When you have strength, you have more value, and people want you on their team. The Muslims are happy to have you on your team, and you actually make a difference. We need an ummah that is strong. I need you to be strong. I need you to work on yourself and become strong. Don't settle for anything mediocre in life. Don't settle for it. Don't settle for something simple. Please have ambition. Wallahi, I can tell you this as an experience that I have had, and this is something you can take maybe for your own contemplation or thought process. I've done these halaqat like in a different part of the world, in a different time in my life. And I've worked with younger people. And I found that there's a significant difference in the amount of ambition for younger people in where I used to work and where I work now, like in Canada versus maybe the Middle East. It was easier for me there to get people to have higher ambition than it is for me here. It's much more difficult here. Like the tools I used to use don't work here. It's like my sword is blunt. I can't do anything. I don't have a way to get people, to motivate people, to have ambition, to want to achieve great things, to aim ridiculously high. I don't know how to do it. Back in the Middle East, it was easier. All I had to do was just push a little bit. The spring was strong. I pushed down. I told them, you're going to be weak, and others are gonna beat you because you were lazy. And they go, no, that's not gonna happen. And they work hard. But then here I say you're gonna be weak, and they go cry. And they don't come back the next day, and the parent comes in the next day and they yell at me for saying that. So I couldn't do that anymore. Okay, that's not going to work. I'm sorry, I won't try that again. I'll try something else. But I don't have the tools anymore. I don't know what they are. So I need you to be ambitious. I don't know how you're going to figure this out. And I honestly don't have the tools to make you figure it out. But you need to do this. You have to aim high. Aim so high that you're embarrassed to tell the people you love how high you're aiming. Keep the ambition sometimes secret. Like have ambitions that are so high, it's ridiculous almost. It's almost impossible. It doesn't make any sense. It's not going to happen. That's the one. That's the one. Hold on to that one. Hold on to that one, because that's what the Prophet ﷺ did. Remember in the Battle of the Trench where they couldn't go to the bathroom, they were so scared. They hadn't eaten in a week. 10,000 people were there to demolish them, and they can't even get rid of a boulder. So he hits it and he tells them, Allahu Akbar, you're going to conquer Persia. You're going to conquer the Roman Empire. You're going to conquer Yemen. We conquer? Conquer what? We can't even, what do you mean conquer? We're starving. We can't even go to the bathroom. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That piece of hope, but maybe it's more ambition than it is hope. Maybe it's ambition. Maybe that's what needs to happen. Why aren't you ambitious? What's holding you back? Do you not believe in yourself? Believing in Allah means that you have to believe in yourself. You can't. Like if you believe in Allah by default, if you believe in Allah, that means you have to believe in yourself. You have no choice. Or else you can't believe in Allah. Because if you believe in Allah, that means you believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destined you for something great. And that He believes in you. And that confidence that you take from that should allow you to aim really high. Or else your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there's something wrong with it. But if you truly believe in La ilaha illallah, that means you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put you here and you can do a lot. Now, whether you do it or not, that's really your choice. There's nothing that anyone can do to make you do it or reach or fulfill that destiny that He gave you. But maybe if your generation decides to really aim high, be really ambitious, learn to be selfless, to see someone who's qualified, put them in the right spot, not fight over something when they know they're not the right person. They put the right person in the right spot to get the job done. Allow people to take their places if they're better at something, because what matters is that this works. Maybe if one generation does that, we turn this all around. When you think about it, what turned the world around for the Prophet ﷺ's time? It was one generation. It was one generation. He educated one generation, and then he passed away. Like he wasn't there. He didn't lead the battle of Qadisiyah or Yarmouk. He didn't lead those ones. He wasn't there for that one. He didn't actually witness the fall of these oppressive, transgressive empires that existed at the time. He wasn't there for that. That happened as a consequence of the investment that he put, alayhi sallam, in people, making them believe that they could do that which is impossible for them to ever think about. Like they didn't believe in themselves the way he believed in them, alayhi salatu wasalam. Like he believed in them more than they believed in themselves. Like, no, you're going to do it. You're going to carry it one day. Me, Ya Rasulullah, I can't afford a sandwich. I'm going to carry the treasures of Kisra. I can't fix my shahata. Like I don't even have enough to buy a pair of shoes. How am I going to? He believed in them, and they didn't want to. Sometimes you're scared to believe in yourself because you're not sure. You need someone to believe in you. So maybe the older generation should do that a little bit. Maybe you need to do that too. Maybe you need to believe in the people who are younger than you. Look at that potential that they have, what they can do. Love that potential, harness it, nourish it, allow it to grow. Tell people you can do a lot. I know you don't think so, but you can and you will. Just believe, just tawakkal ala Allah, just move, and we're here to help you and support you. And things can change so quickly for Nations change so quickly. All it takes is one generation of people. Ours didn't really do the job well. I have to admit, we sucked in many ways. But I think the one coming has a little bit more maturity, a little bit more realization and appreciation for things. So let's see if you guys can move this needle a little bit better than we did. They would come back from Mutah. Immediately after Mutah, the preparation for Khaybar happened. Now, if you were to study the Seerah of the Prophet ﷺ from other books, you may find Khaybar put in a different part of the Seerah, because there is difference of opinion of when it happened. That's just the issue. The scholars of Seerah have till this day still don't fully agree exactly when Khaybar happened. So if you find in a book somewhere that Khaybar was kind of talked about before Mu'tah, it's okay. That's fine. I tend to feel that it happened a little bit later, where I'm talking about it now. But if you argue with me that maybe it happened earlier, I don't think either of us could fully win the argument, and that's fine. Like you can totally believe that if you look at the evidence and think it happened earlier. But I tend to feel like it happened a little bit later. I have my reasons for that. It doesn't really affect telling you the story, honestly, so I'm going to leave it out. What you need to know about Khaybar is the following. From year 4 to year 7, it became the main problem for the Muslims. After Khandaq itself, the Battle of the Trench, occurred because of the advocacy of Khaybar. Khaybar was a pretty big place. So here's a breakdown. It's around 150 kilometers north of Medina. It's not that far away. It's a very rich area, very well protected. Around 40,000 trees, which is a huge number for the region we're talking about. You're talking about the middle of the Arabia, which is a place that has a lot of, is mostly deserts. 40,000 trees, 10,000 warriors, all of them properly armed. 8 castles. This is a castle that still exists today. This is what it looks like today. This is not from Lord of the Rings. This is actually a castle that exists in Khaybar till this day that they used to use. Look at this thing. They're massive. These things are massive. They're huge. These are castles that are huge. The Muslims knew. No one ever actually succeeded in putting a siege around these castles and getting through. No one. Historically, no one. The tribes that lived there from Ahl al-Kitab, which are the tribes that moved, Banu Nadir and Banu Qaynuqa and Banu Qurayza, those three tribes that tried to kill the Prophet ﷺ on three different occasions that were removed from Medina, basically went to Khaybar. Now Khaybar became a spot where all of the conspiracy was happening. This is where the conspiracy was going on. This is where the planning. The Battle of the Trench came from the planning of the two gentlemen, Huyay ibn Akhtab and Ka'b ibn Ashraf. And they both lived in Khaybar. And they went and advocated. They went to Abu Sufyan, and they went to Ghatafan, and they went to other tribes. And they're the ones who actually put together the 10,000 army to try and destroy Medina. So the Prophet ﷺ tried time and time again to bring them to the table for a negotiation of some treaty. And every time he did this, it didn't work out. They refused to do it, or they broke it later, or they continued to advocate, meaning they would find out, through intelligence, they'd find out that they paid a group of people. A lot of the battles that happened during the Prophet ﷺ, sometimes the small ones, I don't tell you about because I don't have a lot of stories around them. There's just nothing to tell you. A small Seerah would go and dismember a group of people who were preparing to raid Medina. He would do this all the time, like literally every week. There's a Seerah going. Either Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, Sa'ad ibn Waqqas. One of them is taking a group of 50 or 60 or 100, and they're going because there's an army that's starting to brew somewhere in the outskirts of the region that was paid. And when they find them and they hold them, who paid you to do this? Wallah, they would give us a little bit of thimar of Khaybar, some of the fruits of Khaybar. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So Khaybar is 150 kilometers north of Medina. I'm not sure if I put I don't know if I have another of the castles. There are 8 major castles. Each castle had a name. Till this day, you can go actually and see them. They're actually very. It's mind blowing how huge these things were. Like I think our region is a little bit underrated in terms of the actual armor and the military ability that they had at the time. They're not talked about as much as maybe they should, but that's fine. Another example of some of these very well built structures. So historically, they had never been raided, or no one has succeeded of actually getting through, because you're talking about 10,000 warriors and 8 huge castles and walls that connect all 8 castles. There's nowhere in. There's more food in there than the Muslims have in Medina. Like if the Muslims go and hit a siege, the Muslim army will starve like months before the people in Khaybar even need to consider opening a gate to get food in. Like they have enough food, they have enough water. There is no need for them to even consider any of that. So the Muslims have it's really not much that they've got to do. But the Prophet ﷺ couldn't wait anymore. The number of conspiracies that were coming from Khaybar made this place a threat. He had ﷺ to neutralize this threat. This wasn't a war. Like it's called a ghazwa, but no war actually occurred. He was able, ﷺ, like he did with Quraysh, during Hudaybiyah, he was able to force their hand to a treaty as well. And that treaty obviously came with taxation, because the people of Khaybar refused to actually accept his terms, and they wanted to fight. But then they got scared, as I'll tell you the story in a few minutes. So from year number 4 to year number 7, they were the main threat to Muslims. That's why year number 7, the Prophet ﷺ, after Mutah, after the people came back, as far as I can tell, he gathered them. We need to go and we need to neutralize this final place. Some narrations say that he actually went during the time of Mutah. After he told the story, it took them a little bit to come back. He went and did this, and they came back, and they followed. So he would put together around 1,400 men and women. And the reason I say women, because it was the highest percentage of women in any battle that we have. And that's just something that you see increase almost linearly throughout his life, alayhi salatu wasalam. Every battle, the percentage of women within the battle kept on going up. From Badr to Uhud to Al-Khandaq to Mutah to Khaybar, it kept on going up. To Fatah Makkah, it kept on going up. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam involved more and more ladies in this. We're giving them different roles. It wasn't always that they carried swords and fought, but they did a lot of other functions for the army to keep the army actually going. So this was something that the Arabs weren't used to. Whenever the Arabs took their women out for a war, it was only for them to make the men not run. It was only to force the men who were carrying the swords not to run, because if you run, then the army is going to take your children and your wife, so you have to fight till the end. That was the only reason they did this. But the Prophet ﷺ never did that. The women that left, they had functions. So Rufayda radiallahu anha was the physician, and she actually built a team, and they had a medical center that was there for every single battle. people who came in for to take care of food issues. Those who were there for, like, everyone had different functions when they went on these conquests. So let's see. I think I have okay. Do we have a kahoot today? We do. We do. Okay. I'll tell one story. Then I'll let you guys. In this whole battle, only 96 people died. So we're talking about 10,000 warriors on the inside, 1,400 on the outside. 96 people altogether died. It wasn't a huge battle. It was just little things that I'll tell you kind of how it happened, over the next week or so. I just want to tell you the story of the young girl because I love this story. It's one of my favorite. So the Prophet ﷺ gathers the army. We're going for Khaybar. So they all get together and they start moving. Halfway there, the Prophet ﷺ is looking around and he sees a 12-year-old girl. So he comes to her and he tells her, "What are you doing here?" فقالت خرجت معك يا رسول الله. I've joined to fight with you يا رسول الله. فقال وأين أبواك? Where are your parents? فقالت في المدينة. They're in Medina. I'm with you. I'm coming with you. فقال عليه الصلاة والسلام, who's in charge of this girl? No one. She's on her own. She just left Medina at the age of 12 to come fight with the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام. تقول, she tells the story. قال فأخذني فأركبني خلفه. So he put me on his camel. فركبت خلفه إلى I stayed with him the whole time. Like this young girl stayed with the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام throughout the whole time of Khaybar. ثم لما كانت المعركة, when there was actually some combat, جعلني مع النساء. He took me and he put me with the tent of the paramedics. He put me there. قال فلما انتهت المعركة, when the battle finally ended, أخرج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قلادة. The Prophet عليه الصلاة took a necklace from the bounty that was taken on that day. فقال أين فلانة? Her name, some narrations say that her name was Khadija. Huh? So the Prophet ﷺ, with a little bit of a, maybe a sentimental piece of act of mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Her name was Khadija. The Prophet ﷺ got the hint. He understood. That's why in the way back of this, from this battle, he would go and he would do a little bit more. He would visit the ferns of Khadija and he would do a little bit, something that kind of stuck in his heart, ﷺ. He never got over Khadija, radiallahu anha, all of his life. But this young girl, they say that was her name. At least that's what Ibn Ishaq says in his Maghazi. So he takes out the qilada and he says, "Where is Fulana? Where is she?" But they bring her. فَقَالَ تَعَالِي, I'm going to give you sahm, meaning you get a share of this battle. You came with us to fight, you get a share. فَتَقُولُ فَمَدَدْتُ يَدِي آخُذُهَا. I put my hand out to take it. فَقَالَ لَا أَنَا أُلْبِسُكِ إِيَّاهَا. No, I will put it on your neck. تقول فألبسنيها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And the Prophet ﷺ put it on my neck. تقول فوالله ما خلعتها من يومها. And I never took it off again. وأوصيت أن تدفن معي في قبري. And I put in my will, in my bequest, that this will be put in my grave with me. فإذا خرجت يوم القيامة. On the day of judgment, I will take. أقول يا رسول الله أنا صاحبة القلادة. I am the girl who had the necklace. صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. صلى الله عليه وسلم. It's a beautiful story. The Prophet ﷺ had a specific appreciation for people who were, for those who had a little bit more ambition, those who were young. He didn't send her back with someone, take her back to Medina. He appreciated her. The fact that she actually thought she wanted to be with the Prophet. She wanted to go out and do something that was of value. Of course, she's not of age to fight, but the Prophet ﷺ didn't want to break that spirit in her. He wanted to keep it, and he rewarded her for it. And she continued someone like that will be committed to his cause, ﷺ, to Islam until the day she dies. And her children will too. And her children's children, because that's the value of doing something like that, of believing in someone and offering them that encouragement. So we'll end with that, inshallah ta'ala. We'll allow you guys, inshallah, to do the kahoot. So for the younger brothers or sisters, again, you take out your phones, which is something you'll rarely hear here in the masjid from me, but you can do it for today. Take out your phones and participate in the kahoot. And we'll continue this story, inshallah, next week, بإذن الله تعالى. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا وقرة أعيننا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
I don't need this. All right, can I ask everyone to please be seated so we can start the kahoot real quick, please? If you want to head out, just head out quietly, please, and we'll start the kahoot real shortly. All right, since the masjid is kind of busy today, we're going to have 3 prizes this time. So we're going to have first place, second place, and third place prizes, inshallah. Alrighty. Oh, put this on.
Use a belt to put it on?
Yeah, right, put it.
So this is because it's
In the wrong way.
yeah, because it's on the wrong. Try that way.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, all right, perfect. Thank you. All right. Faid. Now put the kahoot.
I actually you should have told me.
I forgot again that you're on it.
I am. It was just not possible.
All right. So that is the game code. It's 463-9302. All right. Can you move sit down, please? All right. All right, boys. Can I ask you to sit down, please? Can I ask you to sit down? Thank you. All right. So the game code is 463-9302. And like I said, inshallah, this time we have 3 prizes for the first, second, and third place. Alrighty. So we'll give you like 20 more seconds, and then we'll get started, inshallah. All right. 10 more seconds, and we'll get started, inshallah. I'll say the code one more time, 463-9302. All right, Khalo James. All right, start. Yeah. All right, we're gonna get started. All right, just so everyone knows, all the questions are referring to the Battle of Mutah. So all the questions are referring to the Battle of Mutah, inshallah. All right, question number 1. How many people assembled after Fajr before the Battle of Mutah? All right. So the question is, how many people assembled before the Battle of Mutah? How many Muslim people assembled before the Battle of Mutah? All right, it was 3,000 people, yeah. 3,000 people assembled before the battle at the masjid, and it was before Fajr. All right, next question, please. All right, question number 2. What direction did the Prophet ﷺ send them out to? So for the Battle of Mutah, which direction did the Muslim go towards? All right, this question is testing who was paying attention last week and who wasn't. All right, and the answer was north, mashallah. Alhamdulillah, a lot of people got that, beautiful. All righty. All right, how far do the Muslims have to travel for the battle? So for the Battle of Mutah, how far do the Muslims have to travel? So you got 7 more seconds. All right, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see the answer. It was 1,000. See, that one was a trick question. Majority did not get that question right. Alrighty. Oh, and then the whole leaderboard changed. MashaAllah, subhanallah. Alrighty. But Sheikh is on a 3-question game. All right. How many people did the army of Busra have? How many people did the army of Busra have? Beautiful. Much better. All right, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it was 100,000. Yep. Wow, a lot of people got that wrong. All right, a lot of excitement we'll hear from the brothers on this side. All right, wow, the leader. Alrighty. Question number 5. What was the order of the leaders that the Prophet ﷺ appointed? So there was 3 leaders. What was the order? Alrighty. Make sure you have the right order. They're kind of mixed up a little bit. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's see the answer. Yep, it was Zayd, Ja'far, then Ibn Rawaha. So alhamdulillah, a lot of people got that one right. Oh, it's a close leaderboard. Close leaderboard. Alrighty. We got three more questions. True or false? Was Abdullah ibn Ruwaydah late before the battle? True or false? Alright, keep in mind, since it's a close leaderboard, the faster you answer, the more points you get. So be quick with your answer to get the points. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright. And it was true. He was late. The Prophet told him to meet at the masjid for Fajr. Abdullah ibn Ruwaydah went and he prayed Salat al-Jum'ah, and then he met up with the Muslimin after he prayed Salat al-Jum'ah. So it was true. He was late because he prayed Salat al-Jum'ah instead of meeting at Fajr. Alrighty. It's a close leaderboard. Alright. How many Muslims died during the first 6 days of the battle? How many Muslims died during the first day, or the first 6 days? Alright, you got 4 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. It was not 15, it was 12. Yeah, so it was pretty close. It was close between 15 and 12. It was 12 Muslims that died compared to thousands from Busra and the Busra's army. Oh, the whole leaderboard changed, subhanAllah. Alright, so Zaina, Rawada, and Sulaiman are in the top 3 right now. Alright, last question, true or false, be quick. All 3 leaders died during the battle. All 3 Muslim leaders died during the battle. True or false? Alrighty. So all 3 Muslim leaders died during the battle. 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, yeah, it was true. Alrighty. Alright. Let's see the leaderboard. Alright, in 3rd place. Oh, Aqab Iqbal in 3rd. Alright. Ruwaydah in 2nd. And 1st place goes to... Oh, Zaina. Alrighty. Congratulations to all 3 winners. If you can come up and get your reward afterwards, that would be very much. Jazakumullah khair, everyone, for coming out. Jazakallah khair. Everyone, hope you enjoyed and have a good night. Assalamu alaikum.